Welcome to the Stream of Consciousness, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We've got our resident burqa wearing John McGowan, Enoch, as always. And
Allahu
me,
Akbar,
Marlo.
everyone.
We've got a very big show for tonight, a really big show. So, look, I think this show is actually probably going to be a bit more of a serious hat discussion. So, John, I reckon I'm going to let you lead the way, and Enoch jump in to make sure we provide some context for some of our viewers who may have been living under a rock.
Yeah, we need context, Spot, because I refuse to provide context for anything. I just jump in media res. I just assume everyone's on the same wavelength. So burqa gate. Is that what we're calling it? Are we calling it burqa stunt part 2, which is
Too burqa, too furious.
Well, let's take it back a step to what the media, the mainstream media, are kind of avoiding talking about, is that there is like a reasonably serious impetus for this, which is Pauline Hanson has had a bill for some years now, I think, trying to ban face coverings, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we could get into a debate on the face coverings ban. I mean, yeah, it was cool in the early 2000s when French nationalists were doing it and when they were winning those arguments. I mean, it is kind of redundant now in Australia. I mean, face coverings are the least of our problems. There's 1 million migrants coming in a year, and I mean, most of them aren't wearing face coverings, right? Like, So what's the point? Like, it's lipstick on a pig. I'm trying to think of a better analogy, but that one popped into my head. So this is the reason why she's doing it, right? It's been rejected out of the Senate again. So she's decided to pull the old standby, throwing on the burqa and coming into the chamber stunt, which she got away with last time to an extent. I mean, there was a lot of like pearl clutching and folded arms and angry words from the usual suspects. But I mean, in the end of the day, no one cared because we were something of a slightly more mature polity back then. Look, this time they've gone completely off the chain about it, and she's been suspended from the parliament. But look, what grinds my gears is things are a bit more serious now than they were the last time.
Yeah, there's way higher stakes now.
Yeah, the stakes are so high. I mean, if there isn't a significant political change in our country within the next 3 years leading up to the 2028 federal election,
yeah, we're cooked.
It'll be too late to change, right?
Yep.
They are not slowing down on immigration at all. The Liberals' immigration policy is non-existent to the point where the Liberals are even existent anymore. Unless, like, inshallah, the bird flu gets off Heard Island or something, like, there is just no chance of the immigration regime going backwards. So we have this limited time frame to do something in, and the time for jokes and fun is shrinking by the minute. The time for funny cartoons is over. The time for japes is over, and she doesn't seem to have got that message yet. The reason why people are backing One Nation in record numbers is because people have realised we're in a crisis. It's not because they want to play
somewhere where they're hoping that there will be change, right? And it's One Nation now has a responsibility, given they're at 18%. They now have the responsibility to act like a party that's sitting around 18% and actually represent the concerns of these people. And they're not sure, the sort of boomer class will sit there and see this footage and then go, "Oh, look, lefty's triggered. Isn't that hilarious?" Right? But that's not the point anymore, right? We're not memeing ourselves into turning this country around. We have to take this seriously. And I saw Selena was talking about this on X, and then a lot of sort of the boomer class were attacking her, being like, "Oh, well, it's just a joke. This, that, and the other." It's like, no, my country is not a joke, and the demographics of my country are not a joke. And I mean, this stream is a bit of a joke, but putting the serious.
But this is the thing. Like, we're allowed to be, right? Like, none of us are working for a political party, right?
Yep.
I mean, we all work in politics more or less, but we're not. We don't have skin in the game. That's the whole point of this, is that we are effectively on the outside commentating on it. Everything we do is on the outside commentating on it or on the outside campaigning on it, and all we expect for, you know, not to be conceited, but for garnering a lot of support for these guys. I mean, I would say this stream is probably, I wouldn't say 100%, but like a significant percent of the downturn in, particularly from guys in our kind of viewership cohort who are abandoning the Liberals. I mean, we were the ones who started talking about this months ago, right? Maybe 3 months, I think it's been since we started talking about it. And, you know, all we expect in return is just take it seriously, guys. Like, if you want jokes, there's heaps of us on the outside who'll do jokes, who'll do bits, you know, and our bits are funny.
Like that's the thing, right? Like if you're going to pull chaser stunts, like there are dudes that can do it and they can do it well and they can make a lot of people laugh and they can do it in an intelligent way. I just you're the leader of the most important third party alternative on the right at this current moment in Australia, and in 3 years' time, we don't have a country as we know it anymore unless things are sorted out, right?
And it's not just that long-term stuff. I mean, like we were talking about before, it's the stuff that's going on right now. They are locking guys up. They are deploying the country's intelligence resources against right-wing activists. They are deporting right-wing activists, right? They are funneling money into these groups that only exist to denigrate Australia. There are serious questions about the allegiance of some of the people inside Canberra and who they really work for. And in that environment, you know, the jokes don't land anymore, right? I mean, we can have the jokes from the outside. But...
I've got some thoughts on this. I think that like minor party politicians do need to pull stunts to get media attention and to break through. Like, it's not the stunt as such. It's that it's missing the mark. It's like it's 15 years ago politics. It's a second bite of the cherry,
right? Like,
and the other thing is that she's surging in the polls on the back of this anti-immigration thing, and she's not saying shit about it, and she's not doing shit about it, and she's not getting behind the March for Australia. She could have hijacked that. She could hijack the whole March for Australia tomorrow. Like, she can
instead of going to Monica
Pauline
Schmidt's
Hanson's March for Australia.
Yeah.
Like,
well, which is what Lee did. Lee
Yeah.
Hanson did a really good job of that down in Tasmania. I mean, you're exactly right. You know, I mean, Mark Latham had a really good post, I think, late yesterday or first thing this morning, where he said, you know, her problem is she can only do the stunt, she can't read the speech, right? I mean, imagine if she did a speech about burqas that was funny and that got people thinking, right? She can't do that. Mark's stunt last week where he read Mein Kampf was absolutely incredible, right? Like, it just so elegantly skewered the entire debate around the censoriousness of the government, or at a state and federal level, against, you know, people of that persuasion. And he didn't need to come goose-stepping into the chamber throwing Romans to do it, because he would have been kicked out. He wrote a speech. He brought a copy of Mein Kampf in, and he read from it in a way that totally, like, sideswiped everyone in the chamber.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, there's good ways to do this and there's bad ways to do it, and they're doing it bad. The question is, at this point, I think, is like, how salvageable are they? I don't think they have any intention of salvaging it. Like, you know, because I suspect the next poll
that they think it went well, right? Because, like, Sky News love it, you know, right? Like, all the Sky hosts probably think it's good. Like, Shari would think it's good. Some of the other Sky hosts would think it's good. So that, like,
Shari thinks it's good. Shari thinks it's good because Pauline walked out of that stunt, and the Australian Jewish Association were in her office waiting for it. Right.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is like the most approved protest of all time. You know, these are these people who that we've seen this happen before in the United Kingdom, right? Where you get the anti-immigration movement hijacked by this vested interest who is really only interested in banning Islamic immigration, right? Which, you know, who cares at this point? I don't care about Islamic immigration.
I mean, I care about it in, like, good first step. I agree. You know, if the AJA are out there saying we need to stop Islamic immigration, my argument is, yes, agreed. And then,
like,
we don't just stop there, right? We can keep going.
And it's a ridiculous concept.
To properly argue around the demographic issue, you have to appeal to a sense of, heritage Australians, which is going to be linked to white identity, which is deeply distrusted by the Zionist lobby. I just don't think they're ever going to come around to our side on that.
And this is why.
So it acts as a form of containment.
And this is why she hasn't weighed in on what's going on with the two Stephens. This is why she didn't weigh in defending the March for Australia, right? She doesn't want to get into nativism. She doesn't want to get into the real debate.
Do you think she could lose
migration.
Yeah, but it's because
donations. Is there money behind?
No, I think it's really simple. I think that people of that age group, and that generation, being called racist is like kryptonite to them, right?
Yeah.
They still want to go to the dinner parties. They still want to have people smile at them, even if they know that person hates them. They just cannot be called racist, right? So, and you see it in the way that a lot of people on the right approach things. They say, "I'm not racist, but I believe in X," right?
Yeah, and you just have to. And this is why,
Look at Farage's terrible, like negative defense of himself. Where they accused him of making racist comments at school 49 years ago, and he said, well, I said something like that, I wouldn't have said it in a hurtful way. I'm like unbelievably massive self-own, like instead of just like, I mean, there's 100 other takes that you could take on that, but it was that sensitivity to being called racist. That was what he thought he needed to defend. It was like, well, I'm not a hateful person. I mean,
it's kryptonite for these people. Right? And the thing about Farage is he's guilty of sort of doing a lot of sloppuless stunts and all that kind of stuff. But even he, and John and I were talking about this before, even he's pared that back. And there is a
you have to transition as you get popularity.
Right. Yeah, as you get bigger and you need to provide a legitimate alternative, you need to professionalize and you need to reposition yourself. And I mean, John, also let you wax lyrical about this. You were talking about like sort of the cohort of like political orbiters that are also their feedback loops in the UK that are helping reform.
Because they're not necessarily helping them get rid of the slot, but at least you have like a voice in the sphere. Someone goes on morning television or someone does a podcast at night that kind of has enough cachet that they can kind of massage things, right? So it's like when you're in an election campaign, you have the cleanup part of the day where you send people out to kind of clean up on the fuck ups throughout the morning. Like Farage has that, and he's got a cohort of guys, I mean, ending late at night with night owls, right? Who are out there kind of like making sense of things. We don't have that. So we only have the mainstream media and their kind of conceited reaction to things. We only have the left in the space responding to it. And then, I mean, outside of that, you have boomer slop online. I mean, God, don't even go on Facebook today.
The only feedback loops that probably disagree with what they're doing is us and then like Selena and a couple of people on X, right? And I think a lot of the times these guys mistake our criticisms as like criticism coming from like, we hate you and want you to fail. It's like, no. I want to see Malcolm Roberts, he's been talking about reducing migration and even talking about remigration. I want to see him succeed on that. I don't think that you succeed on that when you pull these kinds of stunts. Right,
it was like that pic I posted in response to Pauline and stuff about a movie preview today going south, like the Succession meme of him saying, "I love you, but you are not serious people." Right, that's my view of it. Like, I want them to do well. I was as excited as anyone when they crested, even when they were cresting 16%. That was like 2 polls ago, right? But they're not serious people, and I don't know how we kind of pass that. Like, how do we make sense of that? And how are we able to support them in a campaign? Because it's becoming clear that unless something massive changes, which it could, because you just never underestimate the ability of these minor party types to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Unless something like that happens, I think these are going to be the guys that go through to the next election, being the country's right-wing alternative, and they need to be held to account. Like, we can't just like kind of shrug our shoulders and say, oh, well, that's just the kind of dumb dog shit humor that they indulge in, because they're tuck shop nationalists with, you know, abysmal IQs. Like, we have to make them better, because otherwise nothing will get better, right?
Well, the future of my children rests on this, right? I know that's like, I know that sounds, you know, kind of corny, but it does, right?
In Pauline's hands, in James Ashby's hands.
But this is the thing, right? Like these guys are pitching to a cohort of voters who, by 2035, will really kind of not exist electorally, right?
Well, they won't get the jokes, right? Like, they'll be sitting like, what?
Yeah, they'll have dementia, right?
like the family in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, like sitting in bed with a horn out the ear, going, "Pauline did what?"
Yeah, and when you talk to these guys about this stuff, they say, "Oh, well, you know, young generations are all voting Labor." It's like, yeah, because there's no serious alternative in their mind, right? Like Zoomers who have turned on Trump in America, they're not turning left. And to the extent that some of them are, they're only doing it as a fuck you to Trump because they feel like he hasn't delivered in the last 12 months, right? Yeah. And you'll see the same thing here. But if you paint a picture of what your future scenario looks like, and then you educate them on how you're going to get there, and you take this stuff seriously, and you say, look, these are our plans. This is what happens if we actually hold the balance of power. This is what happens if we form a credible third-party alternative. And if you stick with us, we'll do X, Y, Z. They'll actually back you to the hilt. But when you've got a 25-year-old dude who's, you know, being ethnically replaced in his own backyard and can't get a job and is frustrated and is ostensibly conservative, and then is wondering if anyone's taking something seriously, and then just sees people fart-assing around wearing, you know, ridiculous garb, they're done with it. They're sick of seeing the memes. This flows down from what's happening in America. They're sick of seeing that, you know, Department of Homeland Security post real edits. They actually want to see Homeland Security. You got to see
them do something real. I mean, it's what you're saying about Trump, though, is right, and there is a massive, like, strategic opportunity for us here, because, you know, the Australian media are so pea-brained and lack creativity and vitality and spirituality. They will just follow the narrative from the US and they will do really low-level pattern recognition on things that are happening here and say, oh, this is like what's happening in America, so we have to report it the same way. And that really gives us an opportunity with what's happening in the US right now to start a right-wing civil war, right? Because if you look at what's happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene, with what's happened, you know, with people kind of turning on Trump over Epstein, like, there is that potential there with Hanson, that if she doesn't get serious soon, you know, you can get guys coming out, attacking them openly, and the media will rush to that kind of civil war narrative, which, you know, for Trump, it's not
now that Pauline's a threat, the media will want to amplify criticisms of her, which is the opposite of what went on for the last 30 years in this country.
To stop that from happening is to start acting like a larger party.
Well, it could go either way, right? See, there's actually like a win-win. There's no way that anyone really loses out of it, because the media will do one of two things. They will see more serious but more right-wing people attacking Pauline Hanson, and they may say, oh, well, maybe Pauline is the lesser of two evils if we've got these guys with beards with their capybara on the podcast saying total fond death and demanding remigration policies. Maybe Pauline's the lesser of two evils, and Pauline votes still keeps going up just as planned. Or alternatively, you know, the media, I think it's just as likely that their kind of institutional hatred of Hanson dating back to the late 1990s could be so profound that even though she is a neoliberal and an Israel shill, like, even though she has nothing really to offer Australian nationalism, the media could back us. They could back people like us and say, you know what, we're going with the freak shows that hate Pauline as well. So that attacking her strategy there's like zero downside, because the thing about her numbers now is they have to go somewhere. They're not going to go back to the Liberals. Like, we can guarantee this, you know.
Just talking about the wider political issue, like the breakdown in what's going on. There's an economic side to it as well that is not being addressed, and the conversation has started on this after Mamdani's campaign on affordability, but like, more broadly speaking, the free market shtick, like, is not is not selling any, sandwiches anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not working for ordinary people.
Yeah.
Now, like I'm quite partial to libertarian policies and economics, but the way it's been done, it hasn't worked out. And so people are looking for an economic alternative. The left is there with that. On the right, we don't have it. We've got reheated Thatcherism, Thatcherism by
we got
stealth, Thatcherism by default. And so I think that's part of it. Like there just needs to be some ideas and some energy around the idea that business as usual isn't desirable. There aren't any win politicians. Like Labor's not saying it either. Labor isn't saying, the economy isn't really working for people and we need to change it. But I think that's the kind of message that needs to start coming out.
And we have some of the,
and we need to change it.
Yeah, we have some of the bare bones of that already, right? I mean, we've got Leith and the guys at Macro Business. We've got the kind of stuff that Dan Ryan does through NatCon, which, I mean, the journalists who attacked that this week just got completely wrong. Just seem to have zero understanding of what that project's about. So there is kind of that those people there. I mean, it's about getting them an audience. It's about getting people interested in them. But I mean, the second it's becoming very clear in the last week and a half. The second you start to get a shred of kind of like a profile, they're going to just come down on you like a ton of bricks. Like,
of course.
I mean, what they're doing.
What are they going to come down on you with?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you got a job, you're fucked, right? Like.
But I'm saying the line of attack is that you're a racist, or like the line of attack can't be, oh, you're an interventionist economically, so you shouldn't be employed.
It'll be that it's racist economics, right? It'll be that.
Yeah, it'll be the economic model that you're supporting is tied to this political model that is tied to racists. Therefore, you are also a racist, right?
Yeah.
That supported corporatism. I mean, let's pull things in a bit. Like,
yeah, sure. But like,
look, the policy of Salazar.
You just can't have sane conversations about this stuff with a lot of them, though, which is part of the problem. Like, I watched the left were putting up like historical NSN videos earlier this week, and I watched one of Jacob Hersant, who has always been one of my favorite NSN guys, just because like he is clearly like the skinhead out of Central Casting. Like he just stands there and just says,
he's got the look, hasn't he?
He's just got the whole attitude and stuff. And he's just like saying how like going through the policy platform of how they're going to deport people. And you just think, man, that's not going to work. Like it's not how you do it. But you can't have the debate with them at all. You can't say, okay, let's talk about what an actual remigration policy looks like, how that might work. And if it doesn't involve guns, then they just don't want to have a bar of it. And it's the same thing on the more moderate fringe of the One Nation guys. Like they just think that vibes will solve it. And they think, oh yeah, if Pauline gets 2 more senators, it'll slow down somehow.
Yeah. And it's too focused on engagement, right? It's like, oh well, we're just kind of shitpost our way into the public consciousness. And look, there is a role for that. But it's about who does it, right? And I just don't think that One Nation should be doing that, given where they're at right now. If One Nation was a 5%,
it comes down to the transition.
If they were a 3 or 4 or 5% party that were just trying to sort of meme themselves into relevancy, then I would understand it. They're not anymore. And
in tech startups, there's a saying: "What got us here won't get us there." Like this is like the transition concept, like. But they think what they're doing is working because they're seeing poll numbers go up.
Which is
we've got another number go up, guys. GDP go up. All go up. Good politician.
Which is the No Country for Old Men saying, right? If the rule that you followed brought you to this, and what good was the rule? I mean, that's what the One Nation guys are learning every single day. I mean, David Dean says, what's a proper remigration policy? Well, remittance taxes, reform of permanent residency, right? But those 2 things alone would remigrate, I reckon, between 2 and maybe like 2.6, 2.7 million economic migrants overnight. Then you get into home ownership. Then you get into saying that permanent residents can't own property. Like you shave these things back, and within a term,
ban dual citizenship as well.
Well, we don't have to necessarily
make people choose.
Well, you make them choose by getting rid of permanent residency, because permanent residency is allowing the Chinese diaspora the choice of retaining their Chinese citizenship, because the Chinese will void their citizenships if they take another. So we don't need to get rid of dual citizenships. And plus, I mean, they're baked into our constitution in a way. We can have British dual citizenships, things like that. We just need to say, well, there's only citizenship or you're a guest. That's it. Right. And that's going to say to all these people from countries that don't do dual citizenships, they'll say, well, what's the point of being in Australia if I can't like milk their economy and, you know, work my Uber job and over leverage into wage cages, get my 5% grant from the government, a deposit. If they can't do all that without becoming a citizen, Australia becomes a much less attractive destination when you can just go to Canada, you can just go to the UK.
Yeah,
there's a lot of policy levers you could pull.
Yeah, and Rupert Lowe sort of uses deliberately edgy commentary to then float the idea, right? So he says, well, you need to create a hostile environment. And then people react and they go, oh, you mean you want to hurt people? He says, no. Hostile economically, right? Which is if you come here, you can't just go and get on the government teat. You have to give up your citizenship. You have to do all of these things in order to actually migrate here. And all of these levers make it a somewhat hostile environment for someone who just wants to mooch and then, you know, send currency back to their home country. The only people that remain are people that actually want to remain and contribute, and you'll reduce the numbers massively. So for I think it was David Dean I think it was David Dean. Go to the Restore Britain website. They've got a whole set of policy documents on this. A lot of those we should probably just take and then see how
we should just steal
them in Australia. We should just take and see how we can apply them in Australia.
The problem is, I mean, they're doing the opposite of hostility, right? I mean, and Susan Lee, to her tiny shred of credit, I mean, she kind of recognizes this when she did her, Australian values thing again, which is an old Howard era policy that she's resurrecting. But I mean, we have a situation now where we require so little English that the government is spending millions of dollars to build schools so Indians for whom English is a lingua franca can learn Hindi. Right? That is a policy of the federal government. I think from memory, it's $25 million to build these 2 Hindi schools so that you can speak a language that we don't speak here, that you don't even do business back in your home country, right? That's the opposite of hostility, right? We are now going out of our way to denigrate the West, like the underpinnings of Australian society. I mean, which is you speak fucking English.
This goes for a lot of the stuff around Aboriginal languages as well, which is that language has a very particular quality to it, which is that it's got a network effect. The more people who speak a language, the more useful it is. The more people in a society who speak a language, the more useful it is. Like, you've got to standardize around one language in one nation, and it's got to be English. And forget every other language. Don't promote any. Like, if people want to learn French in their spare time, fine. If they want to learn Aboriginal languages in their spare time, fine. Like, if we want to preserve those, academics can go and record them. But as a matter of state policy, it's got to be English first, English only at all times. It's an insane, like, just because it's what people will use to access everything else in society. It's absolutely fundamental.
And there is also this issue that not all languages are created equal, and the level of complexity of different languages and what you can express through different languages. I mean, Australia found this out the hard way in the 1990s. There was this enormous push in Australia, not just, we all experienced it in my generation in the schools, but Australian business started doing business in Japanese. Right, because we were doing enormous trade through Japan. We had deep business links into Japan. This is before the Asian financial crisis. But of course, one thing they learned the hard way through a series of court cases in the 1990s, don't write contracts in a language that doesn't have that many articles, right? It's very hard in a language like Japanese, where most words only mean a couple of things, to actually use. There's no weasel words in Japanese. You can't. It's very hard to put media statements out in Japanese. So there is a reason why English and French are the global lingua franca, because these are the two languages that have the depth of complexity, right? You can't do business in Gadigal, right? What, like, if you can't do anything with the language, what's the point? If it only makes life easier when you go to some sandblasted village, like, what's the point?
They're directly as useful as the number of speakers. And for that reason as well, learning English and learning English well doesn't just open up your opportunities in Australia, but around the world, of course. I mean, this is so it's just so fucking obvious. But the idea that we build Hindi schools, it just shows like irresponsibility and madness, really.
Well, again,
that one's
really bring it back to the core theme.
Like,
It's just no one's taking things seriously.
Yeah.
It's all just signaling. It's if it's not slop memes, it's signaling that you care and not actually doing anything to solve the problem. And people, for a while have bought it, but younger generations I'm seeing are not.
Oh yeah,
and they're way more switched on than people give them credit for, and they can sense when someone's just fucking taking them down the garden path, which is why the more important thing that people need to understand about these younger generations is they're not politically loyal. Because they're not ideologically loyal. They'll switch. And the reason they'll switch is because they feel like they're getting screwed, and they feel like that because they are. So they're now sort of this, they're almost bartering with you, going, well, I'll back you, right? I sort of broadly believe in these things. I'll back you, but what are you going to do for me to achieve these outcomes? And if you're not going to do it, then I'm going to back your enemy who's going to hurt you, because I want outcomes, right? And I want outcomes that benefit me. And the sooner that sort of the older political operatives get their head around that, the better, because if you don't take these things seriously, apologies to our viewers for the overuse of that word, we're screwed in the next 5 years.
There's always been an element of kind of self-interested groups operating in our politics, of course, absolutely, of course, but I think that we're entering a post-liberal phase. We don't have a shared idea of the sacred. Like a bunch of stuff is breaking down, the culture is fragmenting. So politics is going to be even more characterized rather by kind of relatively selfish interests, including class interests, which I think are going to kind of become more important again in Australian politics.
Yeah, I mean, it's that bifurcation that you're seeing between the left and the right. And so no one's chasing votes anymore, right? Because there's a left and there's a right, and you're really just providing fuel for your own echo chambers. So in that environment, like it's like what we were saying about, Trump with the Homeland Security Vril edits, right? Trump doesn't care if anyone votes for Trump ever again. So now it's just this pantomime. It's this daily performance for the support base. This is where you break so differently in Australia with One Nation, because those guys are growing. They are every day just slicing off with a lathe another cohort of Liberal voters who are fed up and want a genuine conservative alternative. And they have to respond to that. They can't just keep performing stupid circus tricks for their moronic followers, which this really feels like. And if you go through my mentions from my criticism of it in the last 24 hours, that's what you get. I've run out of grok tokens from how many IQ checks I've had to do.
Because you love Muslims. That's
that's exactly it. It's but. And of course, I can't very well say to them, well, have you read my 4,000 word Substack on my feelings on Islamic immigration?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you kind of own yourself at that point when you're in a debate with a guy who, breaks rocks for a living. He's arguing with you about his passion for One Nation.
If their profile picture is like an outboard motor, then you don't you probably don't want to fucking be engaging into some high-minded debate, right?
God, they're bad, man. They're bad.
But I mean, speaking of serious stuff, I wasn't on last week's stream, but I went up the coast and went fishing and a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden, people are getting arrested for Telegram messages and for standing on the side of the road or deported for standing on the side of the road at police-approved events. Like,
well, so did we? We did the
want about
deportation last Tuesday.
We did deportation.
The deportation.
The deportation.
We haven't covered
Tuesday,
the free speech arrest.
Well, funny thing, I think 24 hours after that, I find, because you recall last week we have all the NSN
Let's quickly recap the event for the audience.
Yeah.
Context.
We're talking about.
Context capybara, please.
And we did cover Joel Davis responding to in an interview to the fact that he had said in a Telegram message for his followers to rhetorically rape, I believe it was Kelly Sloan, right?
No, I believe it was Allegra Spender.
Allegra Spender.
Okay.
Yeah. And that has now been turned into a attempt to intimidate, harass, or offend, or something, or insult, intimidate, or harass. So he's been charged with a proper crime. Was it a federal one, or was this like use of a carriage service? No.
It was federal, because I seem to recall him getting arrested.
Because I remember the language use of a carriage service, and I think that's always federal.
No, it was federal.
So he's in jail for speech. I mean, one of the words in there was rhetorically.
Denied bail on Friday.
Oh yeah, because it was risk of reoffending.
These guys are kind of dumb sometimes, but I mean, are they going to be so dumb as to post that again? The risk of reoffending, it's
I would
insane.
argue potentially, but
actually, okay, right, yeah, maybe.
But the thing is, like, it's like at risk of reoffending by doing something that shouldn't be an offence, right? Yeah. He didn't instruct his followers to go and do the R word. It was very clear.
He didn't do like the Will Stancil AI meme.
Exactly, right? Like, everyone knows that this was, again, like they always do, trying to push the Overton window. Yeah. But it needs, it needs to be something that is, it needs to be speech that is protected, right? And I put up a tweet about it, and it was doing pretty well, which is free speech protections aren't there to protect, talking about the weather. They're there to protect people who are going to push the limit but deliberately stay within the confines of what is allowed. And
which is what these guys have been doing, right? They stand on the side of the road. They lined up on a police-approved protest. Like, they held up a sign with no slurs in it. I've said from day one that these campaigns they've done on attacking the Jewish lobby, are fundamentally, effective, because they do it. The Jewish lobby then does exactly the thing that they held up the sign about, right? Like, and you have a right to do that. The Jewish lobby are not protected species.
They do have a right to do it. Although I would like to collect my Brian was right cookie jar, which is I think I said on the last stream that I was on.
You did say they're gearing up to attack free speech.
Yeah, so they're gearing up to attack.
Well, they absolutely did. I mean,
state and fed are gearing up to attack free speech, and whatever these guys do is going to be used as the excuse, and that's what's ended up happening. Right? And
now they've got an egregious attack on free speech, but they've chosen someone no one wants to defend for saying something that is actually really, really crude. Like, who wants to stand up with
exactly
with a sign saying it said rhetorically,
yeah.
But you know what? If you stood up there now with a sign that just said, "I said rhetorically" in inverted commas, and that's it. I mean, are they going to arrest him again when that's objectively funny, right? I mean, so when we got off the stream last week, the NSN guys were going burqa in the comments, demanding I debate Joel again, and I debate Joel, and I'd said no in the past on the basis that I just don't feel like debating the merits of National Socialism. Like, I just don't see any value in that, for the same reason I probably wouldn't debate the merits of unreconstructed Stalinism, right? I just don't think it's that relevant. But three things happened which made me change my mind. One, I had a look inside Joel's Telegram, and those guys are hilarious. Like, there was one guy in particular, Tard Grinder, who owned me so hard that I thought, that's funny enough that I'll say yes. The second thing was what he said about Spender, and this is before he got arrested. I thought, well, that's an interesting debate to have, especially in the context of what we've just seen go on with One Nation. the debate I wanted to have was, well, you've got the White Australia Party now, right? I mean, this was the third point, was that, if they take themselves seriously enough to start the party, I'll take them politically seriously as well. But to then challenge him and say, you should have seen this coming when you were typing rhetorical into Telegram, right? You have to clean your act up. These guys can't run around bashing people and saying dumb stuff in public because they're a political organization now. We've been saying from day one that, to becoming the political organization is what legitimizes them, is what gives them genuine political cachet. So every time these guys do something stupid, it's one step forward, two steps back for them, right?
Yeah.
That's a debate worth having. And then unfortunately it was like less than 12 hours, I think, after I said that, the poor kid goes to prison over it. So
as a wise man once said, at first they came for the Nazis and I did nothing, so I was not a Nazi.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is the thing, like, it is hard for a lot of people on the free speech right to just all of a sudden get out of bed and go, oh, well, I'm going to stand up for these guys. But actually, if you care about free speech, you are obligated to call this out, right? Whether or not they were stupid by putting this content out there, whether or not they were inviting themselves to this kind of reaction, and whether they should have seen that coming, those are all separate things. At the end of the day, it's unacceptable for the state and federal, authorities to arrest someone for what was posted.
I think it's going to backfire on the government massively, though. It's really going to backfire because, you look at what happened to Thomas Sewell when they put him in prison over that Australia Day thing, right? He comes out of prison and says, we're going to start a political party and change the face of Australian politics, right? Now, Joel's been the one who since then, I mean, he does the occasional kind of goofy stunt. Now they've put him in prison. What do you think is going to happen when Joel Davis comes out of prison this time? He's going to come out and he's going to go, no more jokes. it's on, right? So,
well, I mean, the Liberal
really
establishment doesn't have
in the foot.
They don't have the actual iron to stamp on the Nazis and stamp them out, right? Like they don't use the kind of tools that you'd need to use, right? Like the state could easily crush these guys, but we know that like a judge is going to put them on bail sooner or later. Like they're not going to really.
I don't know, man. They
do anything. I
don't know.
They fucked Sewell around for ages, man. And I think it's about
he's out now.
It's where he's out now, but he was inside for like a month. Like it's punitive, right? And
no, it'll be punitive. But my point is that they won't. There are regimes that crush, dissident movements that they don't want to exist.
Yeah, and they don't have the ticket for that.
And this regime doesn't actually want to use those tools. And I'm not talking about executions either. Like, there's a lot between what they do.
One of the simplest ones is just to co-opt them, right? I mean, there are, if you're, and this is the really interesting thing, and I really got to get around to finishing that Substack about ASIO and Burgess, but if you look around the world at how these things are handled, and like a really great example, and I quote the book all the time, is the Timothy McVeigh stuff that went on with white supremacist groups in the US in the early 1990s, right? So that's not a case of the government saying at a high level, oh, let's just make these white nationalists' lives as difficult as possible. That's a case of there are levels of white nationalism in our society we are willing to accept, and we want to make sure that the white nationalism in our society is our white nationalism, not anything foreign, not anything explosive. And so they infiltrate, they co-opt. I mean, they're bankrolling some of them at various points because the idea is not to stamp it out. The idea is to make sure it is not a threat. And that is totally different to what our intelligence services are doing with these guys, with the White Australia Party, because they're not trying to make sure these guys are a threat.
Are they?
Their actions are making these guys more of a threat, right? I mean, you read quotes from FBI guys from some of those militia groups who are involved in the Oklahoma City bombing, and they openly talked about the fact they were paying these guys paying them to keep them on the straight and narrow because they knew when they got out of prison, if they had nothing to lose, they were going to do bad stuff. And what we have here is like they are deliberately turning these guys into a far worse organization than they ever had to be.
Yeah,
because
like if you arrest them for being retarded on Telegram, then they get the lesson they learn is, we need to hone ourselves and
exactly.
and
These guys aren't going to get more retarded on Telegram. They're not going to do silly stunts. They're going to do better stunts. Now, my hope is that it sharpens their rhetoric, that they realize, the White Australia brand, a policy around advocating for white Australians and ending mass migration and doing it at a political level, that's enormously valuable. And I hope they go that way, right? There's other ways they could go. And I just don't think anyone
really ugly ways that they could go.
There's really ugly ways that ends up going. And, we've seen that in some Northern European countries, and it doesn't end well. So, I think these guys are, we there's people who joke and fedjack at them or whatever, but I think they're increasingly, if something doesn't change, they will be. They're already effectively a creation of the government, because if you go back all the way to the beginning, it's Blair Cottrell lifting weights and shadow boxing with lads and talking a little bit about immigration, right? And then they call them all Nazis. And so these kids decide, you know what? If you're going to call us Nazis, we're going to be Nazis, right? So they're already a creation of the state. Because if they just had been left alone to begin with, it'd still be the Lads Society or the United Patriots Front, and they'd go and work out at the gym together. And, maybe they'd be handing out for Pauline Hanson at the next election. Instead,
they're not just shadow boxing.
They've been over-policed.
Looking at their recruiting videos, it seems like in those early days, one of the kind of key incentives is that you could join this group and get punched. Which I guess has a realness and a visceralness to it, which appeals to certain young men.
But to John's point, right? Like if they were just left to do that, they probably wouldn't have done anything else, right? Because they would have just been like, "Well, this is fun."
Well, the state shut their gym down. I think the council shut their gym down or something. So
the state created the monster that they're now trying to contain.
And this and I don't mean to, I'm not trying to sound alarmist like one of those fucking far right experts, but it's ironic that the so-called far right experts don't know anything about this stuff. If you look in the United States today at some of the overtly white supremacist groups, and you look at some of the ones in the lead up to 2016, right? The US Constitution entitles those people to do what they're doing, and they're just allowed to do it, and they never grow beyond a certain level, right? If you go back to the crisis in white nationalist actual terrorism in the United States in the early 1990s, why did that happen? The ATF shot them, and they shot their kids, right? Yeah. You start with Ruby Ridge and you work your way forwards. Yeah. That's why those things began. That's why these guys who were entitled by the US Constitution, by not just the Free Speech Amendment, but their right to bear arms, who got together in little dinky militias, who watched Red Dawn, read the Turner Diaries, were waiting for the blue helmets from the UN to come, and were harmless. And then the government decided to shoot their kids and their dogs, and then they're not harmless, right? And that's what's happening here. You can see it a mile off, right? Because they are saying to these guys it should be a harmless fringe of political society who we might interact with, who probably would produce some really good content in a vacuum. They are being radicalized by their own government, and it's too late for any of us to de-radicalize them. I would...
Bully Pulpit saying Ruby Ridge wasn't white nationalist. No, it wasn't, but you had the white nationalists who saw what happened and then
they saw what happened and went.
And it was part of a federal kind of infiltration operation. They were putting pressure on the Ruby Ridge guy. His name escapes me, but they wanted him to inform, and that's why they had kind of like dumped a bunch of charges on him that he then avoided. And everything escalated from there.
But this is the thing, right? It's like we're not Nazis. Like we're not the ones having our houses raided, but we're watching what's happened. And what are we saying? Everyone needs to smarten up their act, right? Yeah. So what they're doing is having a hardening effect on our entire side of politics, right? in a way that certainly I've never seen before. I mean, everyone's taking it more seriously, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of the dumbest things I think the government's ever done, and it makes you wonder, like, you know.
I think Britain's softened us up here. There's a long, like, kind of political tradition in this country of just doing what Britain did 5, 10, or 15 years later with so many different things. And, you know, they've been going completely psycho on the free speech restrictions. To some extent, maybe that's prepped the population for the idea that that's a normal thing. Certainly, I think it's made the politicians feel like they could possibly get away with it more, and push what they're doing further.
But I mean, they haven't gotten away with it in the UK, because it's just, you look at reforms numbers, right? It's like, and so this is the thing: the government is sitting there, they're repeating the same mistakes of both the left, both conservatives and liberals in the UK, and they're sitting there watching One Nation's numbers go up, going, "Why is that happening? Why are all these people turning on us? Like, how can you be that dumb, right? You can't be that dumb." I mean, you know, the white pill is on a long enough time frame. There's, you know, nature abhors a vacuum, and, you know, that's what happens with reform, right? I mean, reform wasn't the only game in town when this all kicks off in the UK, but that political vacuum can't be abided, and so you end up with a viable option. Right now, does that happen here with One Nation, like, or does someone else kind of come along?
I think they've got I think that they've got the capacity to become the viable option, because they already have the size that they need, right? You really just need to swap a few people out, bring in a couple of policy people, and sort of, you know, have a real frank discussion about the direction that you want to take that party, and then it can be done. The question is what's the likelihood of that happening? I don't know. I don't know enough about the party, but like, my criticism comes from, I want to see any potentially viable third, you know, right-wing party succeed. So what the fuck are we doing here? Like, enough. Matt Canavan was right. He was like, you know, there were, you know, proper debates going on in the Senate about a whole bunch of issues that actually affect people, and you can debate whether or not those are important to you. But he was saying, you know, and then it all gets blown up because One Nation rolls in and you know, plays dress ups. Well, like, I'm taking the decline of my country seriously. I want to see something happen. It's so much serious, you know, on this stream. Fucking hell.
I know. Well, we are getting into serious times, right? I mean, you know, everyone's at risk, I think, going forward. Like, you know, they're now working their way down the list of the White Australia Party's most overt guys. You know, they might even manage to sync up all of them being in prison before the end of the year. They're not going to stop. They're not going to put a big mission accomplished banner on the side of the Holocaust Museum and decide that it's over. They'll start coming for the two Stevens at Campion. They'll start coming for us. They'll start coming.
We should talk about that, actually.
The two Stevens thing kicked off again.
Kind of the fact that has massively escalated, like massively.
So again, context, Capybara. Do you want to jump in?
Sure. A few weeks ago now, at least maybe a month, there was a hit piece by Matthew Begley, left-wing journalist to the Sydney Morning Herald, who basically quoted some things that Stephen Shavura and Stephen Ricciardini said, and then characterized them as, well, he was kind of careful what he characterized them as, but it's some kind of far right.
Ethno-nationalist kind of,
Yeah, and they went to the university for comment. The university indicated there might be an investigation. That cleared up. There was no problem there. We thought the issue had gone away, but now it's clear that TEXA have opened an investigation, and they've sent a
tertiary education
Standards Association, something like that.
It's effectively like a governing body that has the power to say, oh, well, this, you know, education, you know, outlet is not operating within the confines of the law, so we're going to punish them, right?
Yeah. So anyone could open an institution in order to access certain government things Texter kind of accreditation or whatever it is part of that process. It's not the whole thing. And they've sent like a please explain to Campion. So even just doing that, they're already inconveniencing Campion University. That alone puts kind of administrative and bureaucratic pressure on the university just for having these dissident voices at the uni. I think it's a kind of hostile act.
Effectively is there are a group of people that are trying to get the two Stephens fired and have their views sort of shut out in any way, shape, or form from the public sphere. It didn't work with the media hit pieces. It didn't work trying to go after the head of Campion College and get him to fire them. So now what they've done is they've rolled out Jason Clare, who's I think he's education minister. Is that right?
Yeah, he is.
Who's now written a please explain to the what's effectively like the governing body or accreditation body that allows these private education institutions to exist, and the purpose of that is to ramp up the pressure to silence voices that disagree with the establishment plan, which is to destroy this country and replace you, that needs to be pushed back against. Now, there hasn't been a lot of noise about this for a number of reasons, but I must say I'm pretty disappointed in a lot of people on the right, especially the free speech right. Like, I haven't seen a lot of commentary coming to defense of people who are being.
Oh yeah, they're too excited about the burqa to worry about something actually serious.
And this comes back to what's pissing me off. Right? You've got a dude who's, whether you agree with him or not, you can hate him all you want, right? You can hate his organization all you want. I get it. But he's rotting in a prison cell right now because he said something that should be legal to say on Telegram. You've got professors at a private university who are now having the federal government roll out a minister to try and shake what they can to get these people's careers destroyed and shut them down. And where's the free speech right on this? Who's arcing up? Who's speaking out? Who's organizing to push back against this? They're not doing anything because, as I said, they're all older people, and being called a racist is their fucking kryptonite. And I'm sick of it. And they need to take this seriously. And if they're not going to take it seriously, then they need to move out of the fucking way.
The argument actually, it hinges on that kind of conception as well, because they're saying we need to consider student safety, right? And it's this idea.
These guys have been teaching, like they're beloved by their students. Like it's crazy.
But it's this idea that holding certain political opinions makes you unsafe, I guess, in some kind of mental sphere, because
they believe that
those opinions are somehow inherently harmful. But it's like it's an insane argument that it's never applied to the other side. Like one could easily think that holding opinions that there should be official discrimination against white people, right? How many academics would fall into that category? Irrelevant. And if that's harmful to the students they teach, well, they'll be weeping when that comes home, won't they?
But this is the thing.
This goes to the very core of what. This goes to the core of what these guys are talking about, right? I mean, Tony Burke has got this like established narrative now. Whenever anything happens, it's about protecting modern Australia, and the Liberals, through their like abysmal failure, have just rolled over and allowed this new Canberra consensus on modern Australia to emerge. We have like the modern Australia-based rules order, where Burke is now defining the consensus as being you have to accept infinity migration, you have to accept third worldism in public, you have to accept the erosion of sovereignty and native identity. And if you don't accept those things, we are going to send you to prison. We are going to take your job off you. We are going to debank you. We might even deport you if your visa's not in order, right? Yeah. That's what's being allowed to happen during this interregnum where no right-wing alternative in our country exists.
Yeah, exactly. And to what Enoch was talking about, that's a perfect example of the left are willing to use power whenever they have the ability to, and the right and not. And I'm probably going to butcher that Curtis Yarvin tweet, but he was, saying that the left are like The left are like alcoholics who, when it comes to, I'm just butchering it. I'll find the quote and I'll come
When
back.
it comes to power, they're alcoholics. Whereas, the
when it comes to
conservatives
power,
are
right
like,
wingers are wine snobs, right? So
Yeah,
they'll only pick using power on like a couple of things, but they don't want to touch this other thing because they don't quite like that.
And I mean, I said this on a stream last week, like that, it's actually kind of based what Tony Burke's been doing because, it is throwing his weight around. Like, I mean, imagine if we had guys who are doing that, right?
That's the thing. I don't hate him for throwing his weight around. I'm pissed off.
I do it. I just hate that there's no one doing it back to him. And I hate the thing that I hate the most is that they know they can do this with impunity because let's say Labor gets up to their old tricks. Let's say there's a massive sex scandal and they're rolled out of office tomorrow. They know there is no risk of this like coming back on them at all, right? They know that Susan Lee, that whether it's a coalition of Susan Lee, the Nationals, and One Nation or whoever, but no one is going to be in there on a swapped side of the bench using this stuff against leftists. We're not going to be deporting criminals in the CFMEU. We're not going to be deporting the Palestine protesters. We're not going to be putting people in prison who say things that denigrate Australia and people who claim that we're not a real country. When we're not going to do any of those things, none of these people will, right? So they know that they're safe, that they can just keep doing this. And, they need to feel the fear that the US Democrats started to feel when they realized, oh shit, Trump's going to get in and he's going to do it all to us. Like that's what they need to understand.
And
right? And that's why we can't afford clowns. When One Nation hits 20%, which I think it's entirely likely she could, right? Tony Burke, Jason Clare, Anthony Albanese, the front line of the Labor's death squad against nationalism, they need to be quaking in their boots that they could face jail time. Right? Yep. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah. And that's
unless they get serious. Unless they get serious. Unless these people get serious.
Exactly. I'm just going through. Bully Pulpit had the full quote, which I butchered.
Yeah.
The left treats power like an alcoholic treats alcohol. The right treats power like a wine snob treats alcohol. That's exactly right. And as John said. Oh, sorry, you go, Enoch.
Oh, just a random reference, but it makes me think of one of my my favorite quotes from I've forgotten the bloody movie, but Michael Caine's a gangster, and some girl's dad is has been insulted, and is thinking of fighting him, and he says, "Hey, you just think about that, because for you it's a hobby, for me it's a living." You gotta
Batman Begin. No.
He's done a lot of movies,
yeah. I don't know, man. I've just been really super angry about it for the last 24 hours.
Apologies to our viewers for us
ruined the date, like because I was on my phone the whole time.
So you went on a date? Was it with Lee?
Yeah. No. Actually, I met a girl. I rent a like one of those like work share spaces in Hobart.
Are you gonna educate the viewers about the Japanese Fedfoid or?
Oh no, it was Get Carter, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Different one. The Japanese Fedfoid happened last week. Which was like a Japanese girl who started talking to me in public about anime and right wing politics, and I was like, "You're a Fed.
What's going on here?"
Yeah, it's like this isn't real.
You also said she likes the stream, and it's like there's no women watching this stream. So
I know, right? I mean, I see the data on the back end. I know that she did, but so this second girl was kind of a similar scenario where she'd read some of my tweets. And all the guys in this workspace, like they all know who I am, and like they go quiet when I walk in the room. They're like, "Oh shit, there's that racist guy," and I just go to my office and close the door. Anyway, she came in and started talking to me about Nick Land, and I was like, initially, I was the same thing from the Fedfoid episode where I went, "No, there's no way this is another attempt by the Rothschilds to honeypot me." But she's a leftist, like she's normal. She's a normal left-wing person. Who also just happens to read a lot of like Cambridge cybernetic philosophy from the late 1990s. Anyway, went out with her and we were having a really nice time. But the whole time I was on my phone, like getting angrier and angrier about One Nation. And I actually
have dealt with 1 hour of like serious hat John is because not only
I had to say to her, like, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry that I just keep talking about this. But you know what? She said something really insightful, which was because she's from the left. She's only just recently finished uni, and she was saying like she was involved in like leftist politics at uni, and because I was talking about how dumb these guys are, and she said, "Well, it's funny because it's like the inverse problem of the left, right?" She's like, "You sit in on like where we are on the outskirts to the right, and we just get enormously frustrated at how dumb these people are." Well, she said for them, it's like the other way around. They get frustrated because they've got all these smart guys, but they're playing 5D chess and losing to morons. So it's like the reverse of the problem, which I thought was a really interesting way of looking at it. Anyway, she was smart, so definitely going to go see her again, unless she watches the stream and finds out I talked about it. But Bully Bullpit just said there is no normal leftist. Well, the problem is there are no normal leftists, but there are really only leftist women. So you've kind of got it's a choice, right? You can either be gay or you can date leftists.
And this is why Sam Hyde said when someone ran in asking for advice, and he said, "Look, if you want someone that you can have your based political chats with long into the night, and date a guy. That's not what girls are for. So be careful, John."
I know, right? Yeah. Mind you, she was just generally really smart, which was nice. And the funniest thing about her was, how I always bitch and moan about the competency crisis and water and fluid dynamics and how we don't have enough fluid dynamics experts anymore. That's what she does. She's basically like a high-tech plumber. And I thought that was pretty cool.
We got one. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Future leader.
I'm going to throw to some random subjects because I think we went super serious. And
I'm over it. Like,
John,
this is their last week.
I know. Are you excited for the upcoming march for Put Australia somewhat at the front, so long as we don't offend anyone? So,
well, I mean,
Put Australia first at the expense.
I know we want to be
one.
less serious, but can we like to kind of like takes us back a bit? I mean, this is the One Nation march, right? So One Nation are in this one.
Oh,
yeah, and what a coincidence!
But this is their attempt.
It's got Tommy Robinson.
Tommy Robinson
from his Ben just
from his
said the
Mallorca, from his Mallorca vacation, or
It's interesting when you look at the speakers. It's like Tommy Robinson and then like Gary from down the road. It's like, okay, right.
And an African guy. Did you see the African guy that's speaking?
Oh yeah, like
oh god,
person. Yeah. and Watto from the Phantom Menace. Like, fuck, okay, right. Like,
what's the meme? Glupt shit comb shit.
Pundu boo boo. Like,
yeah. Tommy Rabbi Stein. Yeah, I don't think anyone's particularly excited for that. I mean, it would be the funniest one for us to go to, though. Like, we should go along to it just to watch it, because this one's going to be bad. I mean, what's funny is like we hang shit on Monica Schmidt, right? Like Monica Schmidt is the lolcow that never ceases to give. But I mean, back during COVID when things got serious, like these people got serious. And that's kind of the irony of what's going on with Pauline Hanson. Like things are, I mean, my view is that things are worse now than they were during COVID, that there's a more serious issue. And we can't even get Pauline Hanson to take it as seriously as Monica Schmidt takes like 5G radiation. Right?
But like, look, this is the thing. Like it is serious. Like my car's been broken into twice in the course of, I mean, the last time was broken into was 6 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or something like that. That never used to happen before around here. And I'm just one example. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's talking about it, man. Like, I got friends in Sydney who live in nice neighborhoods, and even they're talking about it, and they're saying it's getting weird. Like, guys, you don't want to go to a Westfield.
My wife said to me the other day that she went to Birkenhead Point Shopping Centre, which is in like Drummoyne, like by the water. It's like a pretty bougie area, and she was walking through one of the like sort of back alleyways just to get to the bathroom to change our daughter, and a Star Wars person bumped into her and then just like started screaming at her because he felt that she should have got out of his way.
Yeah.
Like, so she's like, I don't feel safe going to Birkenhead Point Shopping Centre. So I don't know, like it's like going to a David Jones. Like, it's just insane. So
it just keeps getting worse, and no one's doing anything about it. Like,
well, no, the Put Australia First rally will sort of kindly suggest that potentially that's a problem that should be addressed at some point in the future, but not in any way, shape, or form that we're going to
get tough on machete people.
Well, they're going to get tough on them, but not in any way, shape, or form that could be construed as hateful or being opposed to machete people. So
did you see the Monica Schmidt interview on Sky? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah. I'm going to say one of the hosts. I won't drop the name, but one of the hosts looked like they didn't want to be there during that interview.
Oh, I know. I wonder who that could have been. Yeah, one particular host. Yeah. I don't know, Monica. Are you sure?
That's a pretty good impression.
Yeah, I love the guy. Don't get me wrong, but like this, I've actually made this joke to his face before. That's kind of like if Tucker Carlson was on the Muppet Show. He's always got that exact voice of Kermit the Frog. I mean, she's a disaster zone, man. I mean, I don't know. Look, who knows with them though, because they're tapped into these sovereign citizen guys. Which again, like, if you look at what's happened with Joel Davis last week, and with the deportations and the madness and the modern Australia and the managerial democracy and everything, I mean, this kind of, you can see like Patient X of it with the Desi Freeman stuff, and before it, like there was an awful shooting down here in Tasmania. Which I think was one of the first things we talked about when the stream of consciousness was on Spaces, right? Like that was going on at the time. And like sovereign citizens are really Patient X for a lot of this from the government. Like I don't think that the government sees a difference between, erudite nationalists who just want to send them all back and these guys who,
who think that their flower
eat rocks and glass and drive the short bus and think that the government is a corporation based in Delaware.
Well, I remember us talking about this, and it was on one of our exposures where it's like they're going to lump us together, and it's not because it's not even necessarily because there are bad actors that want to do that. It's because they're too stupid to know the difference, and they see someone with an anonymous X account shit posting right-wing content, and then immediately after that they see someone talking about how if they lather themselves up in tallow that the UV rays mixed with chemtrails can't get to them, and they go, yep, these are the same people, and one of these people shot someone, right? Shot cops. So we're going to go after them, and we get lumped in with it. So I
mean, the irony is that this strategy that the government is employing, it makes it very easy if you want to be a genuine right-wing radical. Like if you want to go to meetings at midnight down by the docks and talk about a coup, like this actually makes it easier, right?
Yep.
I mean, thankfully, I will probably not have to debate Joel Davis on National Socialism anytime soon. But I mean, one of the sharpest criticisms of National Socialism is that these guys get so myopic about Jews, they forgot that not all Bolsheviks were Jews. And so you end up with this scenario where they're rounding up illiterate, Talmud-owning peasants, while the village Bolshevik is hiding in an Orthodox church, and able to operate with impunity. What these guys will do is cast such a wide net and say, like anyone who is just vaguely right-wing. I mean, you should be terrified the day I do the big X post where I just repudiate all my political beliefs and go quiet and announce that I'm a leftist now, right? That's, what's really happening.
Because what's coming.
Yeah, when I put the rainbow flags up, I mean, because what they're setting up is this kind of environment where you can hide in plain sight. And, all you need to do is Takia. Like start talking in their language and start saying, you know what, I've been thinking of this modern Australia thing. It's a good idea, like we just do that. Yeah. Like
Just
that's
got this
what
image
ended
of-
up happening.
I've got this image of them breaking their way into your house, John, as you're desperately photoshopping a rainbow Ukraine flag to put on your profiles.
Yeah.
It probably sounds to some people like we're sort of punching right on this kind of stuff, but the reason I've kept Bully Pulpit's comment up here, specifically while we're sort of shitting on sovsits, is, as Bully Pulpit says, sovsits are ontologically leftist in thought, and this goes back to a rant that you had back around the Desi Friedman shooting, which I might get you to rehash, which is that sovereign citizens, and I would argue to some extent libertarians, are leftist in their entire approach to their
I mean,
worldview.
it's
So
fundamentally
It's fundamentally liberal.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole point of what I was getting at is that the rejection of the law of the land, like the rejection of Australian sovereignty, is no different to drape yourself in a red ensign and say Australia isn't real, it's a PO box in Delaware. That's no different than being one of these guys like at the footy the other day, the AFLW, that gets up on the whole Marxist colonial soapbox and says Australia isn't real, right? There's no difference. If you're saying Australia isn't real, you're basically a leftist. And that's my fundamental problem with
It's anti-traditionalist.
It's all made up. Yeah. I mean,
because fundamentally, the state relies on tradition. Really, when you get down to it, and it is arbitrary. Its authority is arbitrary. Yeah. It is derived from a particular and arbitrary historical state that's been passed down to us.
And we have a rule of law, and this is the other thing that frustrates me about them, is that like the rule of law is fundamental to like the Anglo-Saxon political tradition.
Yes.
Right? We have courts, we have separation of powers. The judiciary is as important as the legislature and the executive. And this kind of rejection of it and saying that it's not real. I mean, it's a rejection of, effectively, white politics in general, right? And there's a reason I think a lot of these guys are not white, just quietly. So yeah, I can't stand them. I've always hated them. And someone just said, "Is Desi Freeman alive or dead?" I don't care. I hope he's living in a hole somewhere. Who cares about that guy? Fuck that guy. Right?
Yeah, he's probably dead. He deserves it.
He's probably dead. Yeah. I mean, what really annoys me about this whole thing
is he could be out in the bush redefining words to make sure that he's absolutely rock solid.
They're going to find him. They're going to find
he'll legal jurisdiction to take
they'll surrounded
they're important or something,
and he'll reverse them by sovereign citizen.
The other thing, by the way, is that the sovereign citizens can't agree on why the government's invalid. They've got like 50 different ways.
They've all got different ideas. Fuck those guys, seriously. And you know what's really annoying about, like, I really feel for the families of those cops and just cops in general, because what it's led to is this debate, and the same thing of the Wyambler or whatever it was. That inquiry came out a couple of days ago, and where it just basically like washed responsibility of it away and said, "Oh, it's conspiracy theories and mental illness. That's what did it," and to us anonymous. No, like, beat cop should be doing like a door knock like that on a guy with a gun.
Yeah.
Right? You shouldn't. I mean, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 cops in 12 months die from knocking on the doors of people who were armed and just psychotic.
Yeah.
Right?
And that was done beforehand.
And it's in that one down here in Tasmania, the Special Operations Group, the guys with ARs, and these 2 chubby detectives like walk down the street with their sissy pistols, and the guy blasts them, right? Like, that should never in a million years have happened, right? I think I ranted about on the old stream that the big problem is overtime, and that police are being strangled for overtime. The time to do 4 a.m. like when they're asleep, right? You wake them up, you kick down the door while they're in bed.
that to
Yeah.
people.
And even if they're awake, your brain is slower at that time of night. You know, you're,
right.
um,
Instead of
Chat's saying the stream is lag. Yes, man.
no, that would be on StreamYard, really, wouldn't it? Because it's crystal clear for us.
Yeah, it's clear for me. You guys are clear for me too. Apparently, it was just me when I was talking.
oh no.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
No, it seemed fine for me.
We have
Let's just try and
13.4
grind it
thousand viewers, right? So maybe that's
Let's
why.
try and find it out, and hopefully it fixes itself. If it doesn't,
Could be.
we'll probably just nuke it. But
Yeah.
I think, look, just going through some of the comments, there was something that I wanted to flag because we were talking about One Nation. Ryan C was saying that I can't find the comment now. He's going to announce that he's joining One Nation next week. They were seen having dinner to get actually, come to fruition, especially this quick.
Isn't that kind of old politics anyway? Like, does Barnaby still really matter?
In his electorate, he does, right? Like, say there's a lot of criticisms that are leveled at Barnaby. The one thing I would say is this is putting boomer hat on. And you need more people like that. But yeah, it is sort of old politics in a way, right? It's kind of like, a politician that's been around for a long time and is being screwed by the decline of existing party is now joining another party. But yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I heard that
I think we're lagging hardcore.
Yeah, we're lagging really hard. He's not. I heard that he's not himself joining One Nation. That what he wants is to run a One Nation candidate in New England. And there is this kind of discussion about, like, does he take a Senate spot? But I don't know if they have a viable Senate spot for him. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know who runs at number one at the next election. But I don't know.
Stuttering on my end too,
Yeah, I'm not seeing status in StreamYard, so I think it's StreamYard's fault. There's not much we can do about it, guys.
That's frustrating.
This is why we got off Spaces.
Yeah, I know.
Because
that's frustrating, especially if we've got decent
the text sucked. Well, if you well, that's just because I think it's just because of the promo post, and I think that was just a one-off weird kind of. But it was while X was fixing up the algorithm, but like this one is much better, like. Because we've got actual high minutes watched this time. It's not just 10,000 people scrolling past it. So thank you, nice. Elon Musk.
Maybe the StreamYard just didn't provision the resources for us, or they got high demand at the moment. But
it didn't do this last time.
I mean, not to nerd out, but they've done a bunch of updates, so you can change aspect ratios midstream and all this. Which
that's so dumb. That's so dumb. Who cares about that?
But
all this.
Janky. Apologies, guys.
This is why I'm going to start putting Substacks behind the paywall so we can build a stream of consciousness studio. Now, we figured out that our fans are called sock puppets. We'll need to come up with a name for Sock HQ, the Sock Tower. We'll have to have a word for it. Right? Sock Studio or something,
No, wait, hang on. Fuck, what is it?
Total Liberal Death Studios, TLD Studios.
TLD Studios. Well, we got actually.
Stockstein Island.
Not to talk too much, sort of, in the Beltway, but we do have. No, you're not to go full insock. But we do have the ability in Sydney to commandeer a small studio and turn it into a film pad.
That's true, yeah.
But
I keep meaning to come up, but I just keep getting delayed.
Yeah, but this is the thing though. You could still do it from your place because as long as we've got a studio that has enough streaming ability, this kind of stuff shouldn't be an issue. The problem, though, is that we've spent the last 3 months, quite rightly, saying don't buy us a coffee because we just think it's
I know.
Cringe.
It's a problem.
So now we're going to think about what we want to do.
Well, I've got some
sock drawer. That's not bad.
Sock drawer is not too bad. I was going to do the conspiracy iceberg posters and flog them for Christmas.
Yeah, do it.
As like a stocking stuffer for the kids. Like, you give your loved one a little piece of McGowan Head history. I was actually, instead of like plugging our own stuff, I'm going to plug someone else's thing. But our friend John Lawson, who does another great podcast, he does National Observer. John is in the process of getting out a book on Graham Campbell. I don't know, if you haven't seen it, you should absolutely watch it. He was managed to get one of the last interviews with Graham Campbell. For those of you who don't know, Graham Campbell, just a
why don't we bring him up to talk about it?
At the beginning. Yeah, we should actually. He's a fantastic kid. Graham Campbell was, of course, one of the founders of One Nation, and he was kind of ousted from it. He wrote a couple of fantastic, I think one book about his time in One Nation. He was kind of the intellectual center of gravity for the movement of his time. If you ever seen my podcast with John, where we talk about ancient Liberal Party conservative history, like Graham Campbell's really like the missing link in the 1990s, where you kind of go from that B.A. Santa Maria, Leonco Urbanchich period in the 70s with the Libs, like who's the 80s and early 90s. It's really just Graham Campbell. And yeah, he's I think putting a book out on that. So, I'll plug that on my Twitter, but that's definitely a great Christmas stocking filler.
We should get John Lawson on.
Yeah, he's really cool. He's great young dynamic content creator.
We're carrying on a long tradition here of starting to talk shop at the end of the stream.
Yeah, well, we do it's like the wrap up, right? It's like, I mean, people like the meta.
It's a bit of a shorter stream, but that's because we kind of rage quit for a bit and just fucking had a bit.
And also, I'm just still so angry about everything that happened with One Nation, and I'm.
There's also not a lot happening this week, or the week prior, outside of the things that we already spoke about, and it's kind of like, what are the steps moving forward? We were talking about this in one of the group chats actually, if we're speed running the UK model, which is what I've been sort of Alex Jones screaming about for a while now.
Yeah,
what do you actually do, right? And my argument is you actually need to keep posting. And you need to post more, and you need to up the ante, because I know this is I know this is guy with a outboard motor profile pic logic. So bear with me. They can't arrest all of us. I mean, they can, but they won't, because they don't have.
It's like the Area 51 raid. Yeah,
that's right. And eventually they're going to arrest the wrong person that tells the sob story that then actually creates the catalyst that you're sort of seeing in the UK. So if we're staring down the barrel of total, left-wing cuck censorship. It's up to our anonymous posters to keep posting.
I mean, it's like that quote I think I put in a Substack a while ago from the whole GameStop short incident, right? We can remain retarded longer than you can be solvent.
Exactly.
And, that's the advantage we have in politics. I mean, what'll bring the government unstuck, I think, is they're going to go after someone with money. And that's the thing none of these guys have. Like, they are so deliberately targeting guys. They know they haven't been able to work for a long time. They've kind of isolated themselves socially. I mean, when Ozpil gets home, I mean, imagine if they went after him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a good lawyer is the only advantage I've got. Like, if someone went after me, I mean, I've actually got to call him, because that knack thing never seems to end. But, there's some people might be able to actually put up a fight. And that'll be what kind of makes them pause and go, actually, is this, we can take out a couple of the poor ones. But what happens when someone shows up with a KC? What happens when someone shows up with 2 KCs? We're fucked.
Or if they're, a mother with kids who said something online, right? Like which Rizor and Rupert Lowe and a bunch of other people ran with once they arrested. I forget her name, but a lot of people know who I'm talking about. Look, it's easy for me to say because I just sort of speak my mind. But for a lot of you guys out there that were smart enough to set up anonymous accounts, the responsibility is on you to keep posting and up the ante if they're going to go down that path, because you need to force their hand. I
just don't think they have the resources to do it that much. I mean, otherwise they would be. I mean, and look, I mean, if you think about COVID, right? Like they kind of learned that they can get away with doing the mums, right? I mean, that's what they did. I mean, that's Monica Schmidt's.
They did arrest Monica Schmidt,
right? And I mean, I guess the problem is like these guys, when you hear the story in the headline, you think, oh, that's really bad. And then they open their mouth. Then you're like, well, actually, maybe she should be in prison. Right. So
the COVID lockdowns actually did collapse in the face of the widespread resistance to them, ultimately.
Oh, yeah.
Like the government backed off.
Yeah, they couldn't keep it up after a while.
I mean, there was that protest in Melbourne, it all kicked off more than everywhere else. There was that one that they attacked, like kind of unprovoked, the police. And then, but then shortly after that, they just started abandoning it all. So
this is what happens. I mean, this is one of the like nice things about the kind of Australian police state is you're at the mercy of what the police will actually enforce. And if it's difficult and time consuming and potentially dangerous, the police don't want to do it. Like this is why you can buy vapes everywhere, is because the police just don't want to enforce those laws, right?
Yeah,
they're not making it attractive.
Where
the problem with the political stuff is, I mean, I learned this working in police policy for 4 years, right? If you want to make police do something difficult, dangle a promotion in front of it, right? I mean, we had a crisis in New South Wales in the mid-2010s with sex crime squads simply being so undermanned that, I mean, you had all these cases were flooding in, like particularly in that period where people were reporting more, and they couldn't all be investigated because there weren't enough warm bodies. So we just put in a promotion pathway for them and said, hey, you do 4 years in sex crimes, you're going to get your dream job. You can be a highway patrol cop, or you can go into the D-Cops lounge. Like there'll be something at the end of it for you, right? That's how you do it. Now, if you're one of these cops on the beat now for targeting nationalists, they're waving the intelligence agencies in front of you. So you're sitting there going, oh, I could get seconded to the AFP. I could get seconded to the Spooky Boys. So they've got that leverage now to make the police want to do something difficult. And, you know, I mean, this is what happened in the United States with drug enforcement, right? I mean, one of the kind of like patient X for why the war on drugs kicked off was because an entire generation of US cops went, hey, if I want to get out of my podunk town, I get a couple of bricks of smack and I can get a job at the DEA. You know, and go to the big smoke. So that's what we're going to see out of the cops. I mean, it's very easy to interdict as a government when the police are going after something you don't want them to go after. You just realign the promotion priorities, and they'll drop it and they'll do something else. Like you give these guys promotions, they'd shut down every vape shop in the country, like instantly.
Yep.
If you said to them like here's a $10,000 like cash bounty on machetes, like there'd be no crime in Victoria. Yeah,
it'd be cheaper too.
I think that's how police forces should be run. I think they should be run on a bounty system, and the cops should.
It could be like a Predator movie where like the cop who comes back with the most, machete gang scalps gets. How many gang members how many skulls did you crack open today? Or
like the Wild West. I mean, it should just be like that. They should just walk around with a gun and a badge and say, I got a list of sovereign citizens today. I got to run down.
Yeah, exactly. Before the person can even say that, under Section 47B of the Delaware Constitution Act, there's already a bunch that's just silenced him.
They always remind me. I've seen some of their videos, and it always reminds me of that Monty Python sketch. I think it's from is it Holy Grail, where he says, "Help! I'm being oppressed."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sure hope this cop is a legal positivist.
I'm counter-arresting you. I mean, they do provide us with mirth, which is nice. Like that's good of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to go through some of the comments. Swing State saying Dave right now lost his job after he was called a right. Oh yeah, because he spoke at the New South Wales rally, and then ABC News went after his employer. Bang, that was it. Out of a job. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like these things are going to happen, and I'm not trying to be flippant about it. It's completely screwed up. What happened to Dave and
who sacked him? And who's Dave right now and who sacked him?
So Dave right now is this like sort of online podcaster dude who's like, I think he's sort of more libertarian than nationalist. Nice guy. And he spoke at the New South Wales March for Australia rally, the original one. And then shortly after, ABC, reached out to his employer, I think, and he lost his job. So there's going to be a lot of that, right?
But who's his employer?
I don't know.
You know?
I'm not sure.
Some random.
Yeah. We should have a high cost for doing that.
No, I know.
Yeah.
This is the thing, right? Is it the right has historically, the populist right has just historically been sort of disorganized when it comes to this stuff. And the only point at which we kind of got organized was with this two Stevens opening salvo. But they're escalating that. So you've just always got to be thinking about what are your next moves, right? Because people want to shut down your independent thought. They want to shut down your sort of dissident ways. Well, you've got to think about what you're going to do. And for a lot of you guys who are anonymous, stay anonymous and keep shit posting.
Yeah. I wish I was anonymous. I think that would have been a lot more fun.
There's a lot of talk about...
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about getting serious. Do you go, like, what do you think that looks like? Like, what does getting serious look like for One Nation?
Different courses for different horses, right? So I think that the party needs to get serious. I think that someone with a Twitter name like I thought there was someone called like Pussy Terrorist, right? Like they don't need to.
Pussy Terrorist is he's one of our strongest soldiers, actually.
He is. Pussy Terrorist is one of our strongest soldiers. I don't think Pussy Terrorist needs to get serious, but for the party, I'm going to sort of echo and butcher what Sargon's been saying about reform, which is it can no longer just be a cult of personality. You need to then within your own party start hiring some of these guys that are not going to be forward facing. They're just going to be your planners, and they're going to educate you as to how you navigate the bureaucratic machine and how you actually enact your vision and how you achieve some of your outcomes. How do you get around the blob? How do you make the blob work for you? What does that look like? And so One Nation needs to start bringing some of those guys on board. And also what they need to do, and this goes back to what John's saying, to put the fear of God into Tony Burke and others, is they need to signal that, right? So they need to stop doing shitty burqa stunts and then go, we've brought on these people, right? And their roles are to help us achieve X outcomes at the next federal election.
Yeah.
And they're fucking super serious people, and you need to be shit scared. And it starts signaling that the party is taking things more seriously, and that they've got a proper policy document on how they're going to achieve, migration numbers of X by what date, how they're going to, we'll just keep to migration. Are they going to, Malcolm Roberts has spoken about remigration. Okay, how's it going to be achieved? What are you going to do, right? How are you going to cut people off from sending money overseas to drain our economy? What does that look like?
Don't you think they need to start talking about affordability as well, like and economic stuff?
Agree.
But economic policy. I mean, this is. I mean, it's kind of like the next bridge to cross, right? Is what does an economic policy look like? I mean, how do you avoid the looming recession? I mean, I've been looking into some stuff around free education recently, which is really interesting. Like, if you shut down international students, what does that then look like? Like, how do you keep the doors of the universities open? And like, one option is, I mean, the government can nationalize them, but the problem is the business models are baked in. So a nationalized university still has the same funding stream issue it did before. It's just now you're paying for it, not the international students. So one option is go back to that Whitlam era free education thing, right? Whitlam was propping up the universities with that because they're enrolling the kids. The state is paying, the university gets it's a transfer. It's a cash transfer from one to the other, right? So that's an economic policy worth looking at. I mean, saying to a generation of anons, hey kids, we're going to send you to University of Sydney to do based humanities. We're going to pay you like $1,500 a fortnight to study, like, which is the stimulus you'll need to avoid us from going to a recession, right? So so when you go to net zero migration really quickly, we like instantly go into an effective recession. So you're going to need to stimulate your way out of it. And one option is through that, like pay kids to go to university, right? And the best thing is we're getting them out of the services industry where it's a capital transfer, because we're saying to all these companies that hate us, you know, these kids are going to want to go back to school and study more than they are going to slave away in the laptop farm, right? And you can't replace them with migrants because we've banned that. So you're basically taking their wages and putting them through the roof, because every corporation in the country has to compete with, you know, sitting around University of Sydney reading like philosophy, right? That's the kind of creativity you got to get into. I mean, economically, it'll be really interesting. Like, you know, when you start following through on it all, some of it's really positive. I mean, you do an effective wealth transfer from foreign owners like really quickly, because there'll be fire sales. And so the margin between what these people invested at and what they're forced to sell at if they don't want to become citizens, that becomes a wealth transfer directly to a new generation of native Australians, like instantly, right?
Yeah. I actually think we should say that anything post like the COVID injection of cash, we basically draw a line around all infrastructure zones, and we have a special tax that captures the like some of the extra property value. Not like most of it, but like we go, if your property has a train station built near it and its value goes up by X amount since 2020, we want 25% of that back.
Well, that is a really good point, right? Because
like claw some of this fucking value back, because the economy actually has billions and billions and billions of extra dollars in it. It's just all locked up in property.
It's locked up in property. So, and we have this problem in Australia where property taxes are at the point of sale, right? So the government's only opportunity to extract the value is through CGT, it's through stamp duty at the state level, but someone needs to want to sell. So what we need are holding taxes. We need to disincentivize holding property. I mean, look, getting rid of negative gearing effectively does that. I mean, it does that to a large extent around people who are over leveraged, and it will rip the guts out of a lot of these like migrant investors. But you will need something else. You need some kind of holding tax on the property so that people are incentivized to offload properties that they don't need. Whereas now, no matter how many taxes you levy on, land tax keeps going up, council rates keep going up, but the incentive is to hold it because rents are going up, and because the equity,
it's the most effective investment. Yeah, but I mean that's going to change as well when we cut immigration. So
RJ makes a good point. Even if you're physically limiting the influx of people, how would you get employers off the drip of cheap offshore labor, though? So
tariff.
If you look, well, but if you go down so there are wage increases that the Australian Stock Exchange is willing to accept. And if you look down the list of the big caps on the ASX, you see between like, I know someone like called me out for the 6-7 meme before, but I think this is more like 6 to 8% profit margins are baked in, right? I mean, I think Coles and Woolworths have got 6%, right? So that's the cream. Right, that's after the dividends are out. This is what's going into the pockets of the fat cats. This is what they're spending annually on things like R&D and stuff they barely do. So you've got this margin of between 6 and 8% across all these different companies for wages to go up, and the economy is not going to take a tremendous hit as a result of it. Like, this is why I don't know if you saw the news today, but they're negotiating with Uber, and this is something relevant for our guys. Is they're doing these negotiations with Uber.
They got some giant deal through today.
Yeah, they got the deal about paying them all minimum wage, right? The reason the unions were able to get that deal is because they know that the profit margins on Uber are so massive. Like, they know they can afford the haircut. They know they can hit them with it.
Just because this will only come up this one time, one of the most shocking things I discovered was that, like, Uber basically, because it's the market maker and because they have all the data and they can react in real time, they actually determine the propensity of both the customer and the driver to take the trip, and they profit maximize. So it's like, so there can be two drivers sitting in the same room, and they'll be offered the same ride at different rates because their algorithm has figured out which one of them is more desperate. And like it's outrageous. Like it's an outrageous kind of market position for them to be in. It's like a total abuse of their market power, and it's actually turned me quite against Uber.
I hate using them.
I'm not sure what the solution is.
I've had to get them a lot lately, and I can't stand them. Like,
well, when it first rolled out, it was like
well, it broke something worse,
hustle, and then it just turned into this fucking monster. And now I'm full on board with the just ban it.
Ban it. Yeah, I don't want.
I don't care.
Bring back taxis. Bring back like $40,000 taxi plates.
Yeah,
bring back
taxis.
Mortgage in your house for a taxi plate. That's
when I was in Brisbane. I got in the taxi, and it was an Aussie bloke, and it was amazing. And I don't care if it means if protecting that means taxi plates need to be $300,000. Fine, fuck it.
Well, Macquarie Bank had a speculators market on them. Right, this is where everyone ran into problems, and then of course Macquarie Bank then it buys all the airports and then starts putting up taxi fees. Like it was pretty bad. ASIC should have had something to say about that, but of course they didn't. Bring back taxis. And just cook your own food or go to a fucking restaurant.
Yeah,
like I've never understood the Uber Eats thing. Like I would get it. There was one place I used to habitually get it from when I lived in Sydney, and only because it was just a little bit too far away to go. But just go to a restaurant. Like, I mean, to be fair, I lived in King's Cross, so I guess, I was kind of cheating. But yeah, I've just never understood like people who order it like 2 or 3 times a day.
That's excessive.
Like it's so expensive. Have you seen some of those charts where they show you like how much it costs in the restaurant versus how much it costs on the app?
And it's like a 30%
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Other restaurants have been doing that. That's something that should be solved with some advertising laws, like forcing them to show the in-restaurant price. And stuff like that. Like, actually. Just to double back on the education thing, not totally relevant to the economics of it, but it goes to a discussion we had a few months ago, and it hasn't come up since. But I think I've got a pretty good idea on how to crack the universities open a bit and just basically force them to be more efficient. The exams, by the way, they're going to have to be all in person, and because of AI, like basically, you might as well just make all the assessment like in-person exams, make them 2 big exams or something like that. Maybe have the government or like a central organization actually run that. You go, this is the accreditation for this kind of degree, right? That's this exam, set the kind of way that the states do the HSC or whatever. And then here's the kicker. Anyone can do the exam. Yeah. Going to a university to do the course should help you, get that outcome. But if you want to privately study, just like you can for the bar in the US, right? You can privately study. And like in Huey Long's biography, there's a bit in it where he talks about basically cramming the books and like giving people like a private course to pass the bar in Louisiana. And like that kind of scholarship should be possible. And it forces the universities to offer value to students.
I had a client years ago who was in the university publishing industry and was saying like what they've really wanted for years, but like the universities won't just hate it, and some of like the boards of these publishing companies, they won't allow non-professors, like non-accredited people into the publishing industry, right? But they said like the sales would go through the fucking roof if they were just letting lay people who could pass the peer review process publish. Like, imagine like our craziest political philosophical ideas going into journals. And people would go and buy the journal. like there's all kinds of things in the university sector where you have this kind of like protectionism, and they don't want to let anyone in. They want to make you jump through all these hoops, and this is why no one takes them seriously anymore, right? I mean, this is why you've seen the denigration of the Ivy League in the US. This is why the old sandstones in Australia are just creches for China and India's fail sons now who can afford them. And no one really cares. Like if you have someone apply for a job and it says they graduated from UCID, like employers don't really care anymore. Those days are long gone. They're looking at your LinkedIn. They want to see like daily posts. They want to see how much AI slop you do. They want to make sure you're hot. There's all these other factors, and just universities don't matter to them anymore. So, we've got to make universities matter again. And yeah, when you take international students out, that'll eventually do it.
And I think people need to just easier said than done. Some of our political leaders need to just not be afraid of tanking the economy. Do it.
Yeah, you've got to do it. You've got to do it.
We have tanked the economy in pursuit of other things that we viewed as beneficial to our people in the past. Do it.
Yeah.
We live in an undeclared merchant republic, though, right? The number has to go up, and the politicians chase around money, even though money doesn't appear to be that decisive in deciding elections. But that's the way it's going at the moment.
We're one of the few countries that could do it. I'm sure at high levels, like the Americans talk about this a lot. Like, well, what if we just broke it and so we could rebuild it again? But you can't really do that there because it breaks the entire planet. The Australian economy doesn't matter outside of Australia. So tick. The Australian economy has all these safety nets. We've got these massive income tax inflows. We've got the GST. We've got the 300. It's more than 300 billion now. It's like cresting $400 billion future fund. So you've got possibilities for stimulus. We have great financial services regulations where they can't speculate, they can't hold too many short positions, like they can't pull a consolidated debt obligation scam here like they can elsewhere. So you're vulnerable to sudden deflation in the economy. You're not vulnerable to a crash the way that others are, and no one is taking advantage of this. Paul Keating knew this in the early 1990s when he said, we're going to have a recession. We're going to do the recession that we have to have to adjust our economic markets.
He was not treated very well for it, by the way.
I know, but it was 100% the right decision. And, the boomers had a few bad years of interest rates. I was talking to a Zoomer at the pub the other day, and he was bitching and moaning about the way old people talk about interest rates in the early 1990s. And I said, man, tell them to get fucked. It was like 3 years. Right? 3 years at 17%.
Yeah,
and then they
it was
went
3
back
years
down
of 17% when they bought a house for like 3 peanuts and a blueberry.
And now their house is worth like $7 million. Like, sorry, no one has any sympathy for your 3 years at 17% that mean you hate Paul Keating. Paul Keating made the right decision.
And as he won that election.
On point. I still remember the graffiti on the side of a house after they won, and it said 11.2%, and you still vote Labor. Which is referring to the unemployment rate, I believe, not the interest rate. But I
think interest rates got up to like 17% or something. But
and
what
unemployment
Paul Keating said
plus 10%.
really interesting is
I'd happily pay 17% if I could buy a house for fucking the cost of a Corolla.
30 grand. There is this history in Australia of politicians who take extremely difficult policies to elections being rewarded, right? John Howard survives 1998. It happens all the time at state levels. You take unpopular policies to the electorate, and the electorate respects it and goes, I like that they're trying, and they vote for you.
Yep.
Mike
Benny Hughes literally said, I'm going to force you to fight in World War I. And he won the election. He didn't win the referendum. Right? He did win elections.
Yeah. Mike Baird privatized the grid.
That guy's got balls.
And this is the thing one nation needs to understand is like maybe they get up to 20%. They're never going to win government unless they stand in front of the Australian public and put something hard on the agenda and say, we're going to change the country. We're going to do something hard, right?
It's actually quite easy to do when it comes to this, right? Is that no one is really wedded to the idea of GDP. So if you can spell out to them quite easily, I might add, that as GDP goes up, their quality of life goes down, then you cast GDP as the enemy. And then that's the point at which you can go, so we are going to tank the economy, and that's fine because right now,
and all these guys are stuck.
The economy's not working
in this
for you.
Losing game.
Yeah, the economy's not working for you, which means the economy's your enemy, which means we're going to fucking kill it.
Which I've been saying for months now. That like the Australian economy is our enemy. Like it is the existential enemy for right wing politics. So it's a hard sell, but I think it'll appeal to people. Right. And look, I think this is the underlying reason why One Nation is doing well, because people, I think the majority of One Nation's new voters don't realise that they don't have a good position on immigration. And so they're sitting there thinking, I'm supporting the guys who want to cut immigration, an exceptionally difficult thing to do. without realizing their policy is stop Fatima from wearing a funny hat. Like that's the policy. Their policy is slightly fewer. They don't have a real immigration policy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think on that note, we're probably going to wrap. I will say,
yeah, it's been a fun one, guys. Sorry about the technical issues.
It was a bit, sorry about that. It was a bit serious, but I think, for our sock puppets, that's the main takeaway. Tank the economy. It's a good thing to do right now.
Tank the economy. Stay serious, stay conscious, and tank the entire economy. You know what? Do you reckon this is what Tony Burke will arrest us for? Right. Yeah. It's like it won't be all the racial epithets or the fact that I illegally vape on screen or whatever. It'll be like, these people are trying to damage the Australian economy, and they'll arrest us for that. I'll be an economic.
And the problem is that, like, ironically, people like Joel potentially do have a defense, right? We don't, because
I know. Like, Joel can defend himself and say, I said rhetorical. Like, oh no, not rhetorical. Crash the economy.
It wasn't rhetorical.
It's not a meme. It's not a joke.
Hey,
Crash the economy in real life.
We're a threat to modern Australia now.
Yeah.
TED, total economic death.
Yeah. Total economic death. There will be no Australian economy. The Australian economy.
I'll remind people to like and share our content. Follow us on Twitter. Follow John's Substack.
And we're getting ready to launch some merch. Don't forget, it's going to happen eventually. Not today, but or next week. But
you don't have to march for it.
And we'll
start saving up.
Yeah,
skip some
crash
smashed ever.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Stay conscious.
Don't buy Uber Eats. Buy my conspiracy iceberg poster.
That's it.
See you guys.
All right. See you guys. Bye.